I can't remember a team that had such a poor week in terms of PR than the Chicago Bears did last week. Justin Fields had a poor game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We all saw that. Just missed some reads, had some crucial turnovers as well. And he is not looking like he used to, at least in year 2, where he was playing a little bit more loose, free. And yes, there was limitations with the passing offense, but the running game was there. Now we're not seeing him run as much. We're seeing a lot of pockets collapsing and whatnot. Then you have him calling out the coaching staff, which is, I think, sort of in bounds given how it's looked so far, but then also he has to go out on the field and make some reads, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Then the GM, Ryan Poles, has to step in to defend the coaching staff. Then you have Justin Fields coming in a little bit later trying to say that he is not calling out the coaching staff. It starts with him. I think that's a good way to clean up, but the damage was already kind of done. We, as the media, already had a field day processing his quotes. Plus, then later in the week, you hear that Alan Williams, their defensive coordinator, tendered his letter of resignation. And there was a rumor on X that him and somebody in the ownership in the Chicago Bears had their homes raided by the FBI. Now that, thankfully, was a rumor, proved to not be true, so that isn't there. But still, it's out there. It's a weird vibe with the Chicago Bears. Still, you have a defensive coordinator that left your team abruptly. We don't know all the details about that. And then you had Soldier Field broken into by random people on the streets of Chicago. Just a really rough week. And let's just dissect first the play of Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, they made the move, they got DJ Moore, and we're thinking this is the leap that he needs to make to prove himself in the NFL. We saw that with Jalen Hurts once they got him some adequate receiving help like Devontae Smith, like AJ Brown, and he blossomed in year 3 especially. Now, DJ Moore is no AJ Brown, but he's still a very good receiver, and we're expecting the surrounding cast as well to elevate. And it's not looking good for Justin Fields so far. There are turnovers, there are just misreads. He's taking too long to get rid of the ball. That's leading to sacks. He has been sacked the most amount of times by anybody in the NFL through 3 weeks. And it's not looking good for the coaching staff either. Remember that when Justin Fields started off, he was under coach Matt Nagy, and this comes back to ownership giving Matt Nagy an extra year. You go with the offensive coach, you try to redeem him for all the Mitch Trubisky stuff. New quarterback there, doesn't really work. Matt Nagy is out. Bring in Matt Eberflus, and I think this is when the issues started to come up. I think Matt Eberflus, solid defensive coordinator. He had a pretty good program on the defensive side when he was in Indianapolis. But you have to look at the analytics and the modern NFL, right? Chicago's whole culture in terms of football has been based around the defensive end. Yes, we know about the 85 Bears. They will not stop talking about the 85 Bears. Mike Ditka, Mike Singletary, all those defensive stalwarts there. That is one of the best, if not the best defense of all time. That's awesome. But look at their all-time leaders on the offensive side. They only have one receiver above 5,000 yards receiving in their entire franchise history. Jay Cutler, he is their leading passing yards leader. He's their leading passing touchdowns leader of all time in Chicago history. That's a very low ceiling, especially for the modern NFL. There are just so many things fundamentally wrong with the Chicago Bears. They are embracing these old defensive tactics. They brought in Bill Polian, who, let's face it, I mean, he is also another dinosaur in the NFL. He is a consultant for the Chicago Bears, and we know that his track record is anti-running quarterbacks. He was talking about how Lamar Jackson should switch to receiver or some other position other than quarterback. Proven wrong. Lamar won an MVP. We've seen this also with Justin Fields. Now, he wasn't the biggest fan, and by his recommendation, they got Matt Eberflus as their head coach, defensive-minded guy. Now, his calling card, the defense, has been not so good. Even in year 2, with some added pieces, it's still not a good product on the field. Offensively, the coaching staff looks lost. I mean, you're hearing players on the defensive end in these inside the NFL clips when players are mic'd up, defensive players on the Bucs side are saying, DJ Moore, they're not using you right. And he's over here saying on the mic, saying, tell me about it. I think that's safe to say there are a lot of problems in Chicago, and we're wasting the time of Justin Fields. His development is being stunted. Yes, I know that his play hasn't been great, and they helped him out. But it also comes down to coaching. And I was worried when he was drafted by the Chicago Bears. It's a nice, flashy move, but we know that Chicago isn't good with nurturing quarterbacks. I mean, their Super Bowl runs have been with game managers, Jim McMahon and Rex Grossman, for crying out loud. They're not known to nurture and develop quarterbacks. They're not known to be innovative on the offensive side. And even defensively, I mean, a couple of times you see maybe some reincarnations of the monsters of the Midway, like with Ryan Urlacher's Chicago Bears defenses, or you've seen when Khalil Mack was there. But that's a very short amount of time. And it's only led to so much success in Chicago. Chicago really needs to look themselves in the mirror. I think right now, with all these moves, they just look like still the worst team in the NFL, and they were picking first last year. They may be on the clock yet again once the season comes to an end. There's still time to right these wrongs. But 0-3 right now after they face the Kansas City Chiefs, which is obviously a given. They were never going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but not even to look competitive is a very, very bad sign. And to not even look competitive is a very poor sign of how this team is looking so far. So my advice for Chicago is to evolve into the 21st century or simply go extinct.